Good morning, students. I hope all of you have completed your questions, answers, the unit test exams, and ready for the Diwali vacation. But before that, let us continue our portion for till first semester from the moments one is remaining, that is chapter 5, the Happy Prince. Up to chapter 5 is for your first semester. Okay. Yesterday, we open your book to page number 30. Yesterday we have done up to page number 29, where we come to know that the prince was not so happy. When he was alive, he was very happy. He did not know what sadness was, but then when he died and when his statue was set up on the top, on the mountain, on the hilltop, from there he could see the ugliness and the misery of his city. And there the first misery that he sees is the woman, seamstress, is a female tailor, and she has a son who was lying ill, and that son is crying, asking for oranges, but his mother has nothing to give him except the river water, and so he is crying. And now he wants the swallow to do him a favor, telling him, take that ruby out of my sword hilt and go and give it to this woman so that she can buy the fruit or whatever she needs for her son. He himself cannot go because his feet are fastened. It is tied up on this pedestal, and so he cannot move. But then swallow, what answer he is giving, you see, he is telling, but then you see, my friends are waiting for me in Egypt. They are flying up and down the Nile and talking to the large lotus flowers there in that river Nile, river Nile, great river in Egypt. Soon they will go to sleep and I have to catch them. They are waiting for me. This is how we have stopped. We'll continue page number 30. Yes. I am waited for in Egypt, said the swallow. My friends are flying up and down the Nile and talking to the large lotus flowers. Soon they will go to sleep, so I must reach them. Now the prince, what he is telling, you see, follow the book. The prince asked the swallow to stay with him for one night and be his messenger. The boy is so thirsty and the mother so sad, he said. Who is the messenger means? Someone to carry the message. So he's telling, stay at least one night for me and be his messenger. That means carry this message from me. He is requesting him to take this ruby out of his sword and go and give it to this woman. Actually, that boy is so thirsty. I cannot see him. He is sick. And the mother is so sad. Why is the mother is so sad? Because she has nothing to give except plain water. Boy is asking for orange, small child, and he is with fever. So please do this favor for me. Basically telling to be his messenger, to carry the message to him, to this family, to this mother and son. I don't think I like boys, answered the swallow. I want to go to Egypt. You see, swallow is so sincere. I don't like boys. And I want to go to Egypt because my friends are there waiting for me. But the happy prince looked so sad that the little swallow was sorry. It's very cold here, he said, but he agreed to stay with him for one night and be his messenger. You see, the agreement is made now. Though he does not like the boys, he's telling, and he would like to catch up with his friends. But when he looked at this prince was very sad, and so swallow was sorry for this prince. And so he said, it is very cold here, and he agreed to stay one night and to be his messenger. He will carry the message, for him, only for one night. Thank you, little swallow, said the prince. The swallow picked out the great ruby from the prince's sword and flew away with it in his beak over the roofs of the town. You see, he picked out the great ruby, those precious stones from prince's sword, which was on the sword, and he flew away, holding it in its beak to the roofs of the town, going to that woman who was the seamstress who was stitching the dress. He passed by the cathedral towers where the white marbles angels were sculptured. He passed by the palace and heard the sound of dancing. A beautiful girl came out on the balcony with her lover. You see, this is one paragraph, just a filler. Like, see, he is flying. He is going where? To this woman whose son is lying on the bed, fever. But then he passed by the cathedral. Cathedral means what? It's a big church, you know, cathedral tower, you know, the big church where the white marbles angels were sculptured. You know, the wall, well, not the paint, but the sculptured, no, with the angels, the figure of angels and saints. Also, he passed by the palace, heard the girls dancing. You see, all that he could see. And a beautiful girl came out on the balcony with her lover. All that this swallow could see. I hope my dress will be ready in time for the state ball, she said. I have ordered flowers to be embroidered on it. But the seamstresses are so lazy. They are talking about the seamstress, this lover, both the couple, they are talking that he has already ordered for the state ball. State ball is party, nothing. Ball is actually the party. Telling, I have ordered already. Hope it will be ready on time, because this seamstress, this lady tailors, they are so lazy. You see, he's ordered flowers to be embroidered, embroidery work, no, on the dress. He passed over the river and saw the lanterns hanging on the masts of the ships. At last he came to the poor woman's house and looked in. The boy was tossing feverishly on his bed, and the mother had fallen asleep. She was so tired. In he hopped and laid the great ruby on the table beside the woman's thimble. Then he flew gently round the bed, fanning the boy's forehead with his wings. How cool I feel, said the boy. I must be getting better. And he sank into a delicious slumber. You see what happened? At last, he is passing over the river and he saw the lanterns hanging on the mast of the ships. You know, the ships, there are masts on the top of it. They will hang the light. Lanterns are those lamp burning usually with the kerosene. So this lanterns hanging, some light he could see. And at last he came to this poor woman's house. You see how many places he has passed through to reach to this woman's house. He passed by the cathedral towers. He passed by the palace. He passed by the balcony where the lovers were standing. What they were talking he heard. He passed by the ships. And at last now the woman's house, this poor woman's house. And what this woman and the boy were doing, you see, the boy was tossing feverishly on his bed. Tossing means moving up and down. So he was restless, not tossing, restless. He was very much, he was having high fever, and he was so much moving here and there. That's called tossing. And mother had fallen asleep. She was so tired. Whole day she was stitching the dresses, you see. And so she was very tired. And so she was asleep. And in he hopped. Hopping means to walking. The bird started hopping, walking, and laid. He kept the great ruby on table beside woman's thimble. What is this thimble now? Thimble is nothing but then the ladies, when they are stitching, they would put on their finger to protect, like a ring, not a ring, but it's called thimble. It's to protect the finger from needle, so that when they are stitching, it will not poke their finger. That is called thimble. So she has kept it on her table, and so she kept that great ruby on the table beside the woman's thimble. Then what he did, this bird, he went gently around the bed, fanning the boy's forehead with his wings. Fanning, he was just fanning as if his feather was like a fan. And that boy felt better. It's like, how cool I feel. I must be getting better. The boy alone speaking, you see. I'm feeling better. And he sank into a delicious slumber. What is this sank into a delicious slumber means? He fell into such a great or beautiful, delicious is something very, very tasty, we call delicious, but in a very good sleep. Slumber is the sleep. He was restless, you see. He was moving here and there because he was so much restless. He was having fever. Now when this swallow started fanning this boy's forehead, the boy felt better, and then he went to sleep. That's called slumber. Remember, slumber means to sleep. Then the swallow flew back to the happy prince and told him what he had done. It is curious, he remarked, but I feel quite warm now, although it is so cold. You see, Swallow flew back to the prince after doing all the service, little service. He was a messenger of this prince, and he told him what he had done. He has to report what all he did. And he's telling you, see, it is very curious, very strange, he says. But I feel quite warm now. Though it is very cold, I feel better because naturally he has flown, he has done something. Always there is a great joy in doing something good. This is the message of this lesson. There are various themes, various message we can get from this story. This swallow is feeling better, though outside it is very cold. Now he feels better, not simply because he flew and he has come, so some exercise you feel better. Not only that, but then he feels good that he has done some good thing for this sick boy, for this poor woman, so he feels better. Remember that. When day broke, he flew down to the river and had a bath. Tonight I go to Egypt, said the swallow, and he was in high spirits at the prospect. So in the morning, he flew back to the river, took bath, and told to the happy prince that I am going to Egypt tonight, he said, you see. And he was in high spirits at the prospect. That means high spirit at the prospect with this proposal, he was very happy, in other words, okay, on this proposal or with this suggestion. He visited all the monuments and sat a long time on top of the church steeple. On the top, steeple is on the steep of the church. He sat there. He flew around. He had a real, sightseeing on this place, and he visited all the monuments, the churches, and he sat for a long time on the church steeple, on the top of the church. When the moon rose at night, moon rise when? In the evening, he flew back to the happy prince. He went to the happy prince to say goodbye, naturally, to say goodbye. Have you any commissions for Egypt? He cried. I am just starting. Have you any commission means any work? Do you have any work, any order for me to take to Egypt? Telling, I am just starting at night. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince, will you stay with me one night longer? You see, the prince is telling, little swallow, will you with me one night longer? One more night can you stay with me? I am waited for in Egypt, answered the swallow. Waited for means my friends have been waiting for me. Waited for. You see, he is being waited. It's a passive voice. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince. Far away across the city, I see a young man in a garret. He is leaning over a desk covered with papers, and in the glass by his side there is a bunch of withered violets. His hair is brown and crisp, and his lips are red as a pomegranate, and he has large and dreamy eyes. He is trying to finish a play for the director of the theatre, but it is too cold to write any more. There is no fire in the grate, and hunger has made him faint. So the second misery he is saying, what is the second misery or the second sorrow that the prince sees from his pedestal or from this column is that there is a playwright. Okay, the playwright, he is supposed to finish the play, but then he is not able to complete because of what? Because of why? Because he is feeling very cold, okay, and he has nothing to eat, as well as there is no fire in the grate. This garret is what? Garret is the small room at the top of the roof. Like on the terrace, there will be one room. So in the poorly, he is set up in a very poor family, the poor man, and he is leaning over the desk. Leaning over means just bending, leaning. But then he is telling he is fainted. He is fainted means, when you are hungry, 2 days if you don't eat, what will happen? You will faint, you will fall down. He has fallen down on the table. Paper, the desk is covered with papers, and in the glass there is a flower, bunch of withered violets. The withered violets, it already flower is fade away, and hair is crisp, very hard. The scene of very poor man, though he is a writer, he is a playwright, and he has to finish the play for the director of the theater, but he is not able to complete because it is too cold. Hand is shivering, he is fallen, he is fainted. You see, now he wants to do something for this man. What he can do, let us see. I will wait with you one night longer, said the swallow, who really had a good heart. He asked if he should take another ruby to the young playwright. You see, swallow is ready now. He's saying, okay, I will stay with you one more night. Telling, now, swallow had really good heart and he's telling, shall I take one more ruby from your sword and to give to this young playwright? Who is writer? Playwright means playwriter, the person. Shall I go there? Alas, I have no ruby now, said the prince. Ruby is over. Ruby is given to this woman, poor woman. And now what he will give, you see. My eyes are all that I have left. I have my eyes. You see, my eyes are all I have left. They are made of rare sapphires. I told you, rare sapphires means very precious jewels. Sapphires are blue precious stones. My eyes are made of that, which were brought out of India 1,000 years ago. You see, India. From India it was. From India it was brought out of India 1,000 years ago. He ordered the swallow to pluck out one of them and take it to the playwright. He will sell it to the jeweler and buy firewood and finish his play, he said. Can you imagine? He has no fire to keep himself warm. He is very much feeling cold. He is fainted. And so he is telling, take these sapphires, the rare jewels. He will pluck them from the eye, one eye. Can you imagine how it will look, this statue? Can you imagine one eye is gone? All it is from the sword, the ruby is out. Take it to the playwright. Give him, then he has to sell it. And what he will buy? He will buy the firewood and he will finish his play, his writing. What swallow is telling, you see, dear prince, said the swallow, I cannot do that. And he began to weep. Weep means he started to cry. Why he is weeping? Why he is crying? Because imagine, I cannot do such thing because I have to pluck out from your eyes. It is too much. I can't do such injustice to you. It's too much. Understood? I can't do. And he started to cry, weep. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince, do as I command you. It is my command, my order to you. Do whatever I am commanding you. So the swallow plucked out the prince's eye and flew away to the young man's garret. It was easy enough to get in, as there was a hole in the roof. Through this he darted and came into the room. The young man had his head buried in his hands, so he did not hear the flutter of the bird's wings, and when he looked up, he found the beautiful sapphire lying on the withered violets. You see what has happened to the swallow? The swallow plucked out from the prince's eyes one of the sapphires and flew away to the young man's garret. Garret is a small room on the roof. It was easy to get in because there was a hole in the roof. And through this he darted. Darted means moved. He moved, darted, another word for moving. Very quickly, that's called darted. He darted and he reached the room, and the young man had buried his head in his hands. You try to imagine, his head was on the table and his hand was covering his face, and therefore he did not hear the flutter of birds' wings. Flutter means when the birds fly, you will hear the sound, that is called sound of the birds flying, that is the fluttering. So he couldn't hear the fluttering of this bird's wings, and when he looked up, he found beautiful sapphire lying on the withered faded violets among the flowers. He could find the sapphires there. I am beginning to be appreciated, he cried. He was so happy. He doesn't know who has given this sapphire, you see. But then this playwright was so happy. He cried, he made noise. I'm starting to be appreciated. People appreciating my work. This is from some great admirer. These precious jewels, it is from somebody is admiring my writings, my play. Now I can finish my play. And he looked quite happy. He was so much disappointed, remember that, because he was a poor man. And now he got this sapphire. He was so happy, he was so much encouraged that he looked quite happy. The next day the swallow flew down to the harbour. He sat on the mast of a large vessel and watched the sailors working. "I am going to Egypt," cried the swallow, but nobody minded. And when the moon rose, he flew back to the happy prince. You see what has happened to this swallow? He flew down to the harbour from where the ships will start. That is the harbour. He sat on the mast on the top of the large ship, and he watched from there from the top of the mast. He saw the sailors working, and he told them, "I am going to Egypt." But nobody minded. Who will mind when the swallow is speaking? This the people, those who were in the ship, those who were working, nobody minded. And when the moon rose, means at night, what he did, he flew back to the happy prince. He did not go to Egypt, but then he went back to happy prince. "I have come to bid you goodbye," he cried. See, during the day he is moving here and there. At night he goes to say goodbye to this happy prince. Again, you see happy prince what he is telling. "Swallow, swallow, little swallow," said the prince, "will you not stay with me one night longer?" "Please, one more night longer." You see, again he's requesting this bird to stay one more night. "It is winter," answered the swallow, "and the snow will soon be here. In Egypt, the sun is warm on the green palm trees, and the crocodiles lie in the mud and look lazily about them." You see, this is the migratory birds, they will migrate when there is too much winter, they will go to the warm place. This is what exactly happening, telling it is very much winter here, soon there will be snowfall here. Whereas in Egypt, sun is warm, it is summer, and there are green palm trees and the crocodiles. That means trying to tell what he is trying to tell, that it is so beautiful in Egypt, it is so pleasant now. So I must leave. This is what he is trying to say. "In the square below," said the happy prince, "there stands a little match girl. She has let her matches fall in the gutter, and they are all spoiled. Her father will beat her if she does not bring some money. And she is crying. She has no shoes or stockings, and her little head is bare. Pluck out my other eye and give it to her, and her father will not beat her." You see what he is telling here? The third sorrow, or the third suffering that he is watching from the top, this happy prince, and he has made this swallow his assistant, his messenger. You see, he's telling, in the square below, in the foreign countries there are the squares. Squares is nothing but in the center place. You see, every city will have a city square. Okay, in the center. He's telling, there stands a little match girl. A girl is there selling matchsticks. That's called little match girl. And what has happened here? You see, all the matchstick that she was having, it has fallen in the gutter, and so everything is spoiled. Now her father is going to beat her if she does not bring some money home. And so out of fear, this girl is crying. Now she cannot sell any matchsticks because it is already spoiled. So what you have to do? She has no shoes, neither stockings, and her little head is bare, not even covered. Her head is not even covered. That means a poor girl, you see, not even no shoes. She is crying out of fear. Her father is going to beat her because she will not take any money home. Now her head also is bare. Bare means, actually bare means empty, but here what? In this sense, it is the what to call, opened. Head also is open, not covered. Pluck out my other eye and give it to her, and her father will not beat her. See, my another eye is there, no? Sapphire. One sapphire is over for this. For whom? For this playwright. Now the second one is remaining. Go and give to this little girl so that she will not get beating from her father, and she will stop crying. You see here. Then, "I will stay with you one night longer," said the swallow, "but I cannot pluck out your eye. One night I can stay, but I cannot pluck out the other eye." Then, you see what he is telling. "You would be quite blind then. If I take out one more eye, then you will be blind. You see, one already I have plucked up. Second one I cannot take. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince, do as I command you. You should do whatever I am telling you. So what he did? He plucked out the prince's other eye and darted down with it. I told you already, darted down to move quickly. Okay, he moved quickly in where? To the town. He swooped past the match girl and slipped the jewel into the palm of her hand. He swooped past, he flew past, that means close to this little girl. He swooped, he moved very close to it and slipped without even unnoticed. Nobody could notice. He kept the swallow kept the sapphire, this jewel, into the palm of her hand, on her hand. She did not even realize, just he kept it. What a lovely bit of glass, cried the little girl, and she ran home laughing. She was crying, now she was very happy that she has got something great thing. Then the swallow came back to the prince. You are blind now, he said, so I will stay with you always. You have no eyes, you see the heart of this swallow. She was really very good, very helpful person, helpful bird, telling now you have no eyes, you are blind now. So I don't want to go to Egypt, I will stay with you always. No, little swallow, said the poor prince, you must go away to Egypt. You must go away to Egypt, here it is very cold. No, I will stay with you always, said the swallow, and he slept at the prince's feet. On the feet of the prince he slept. All the next day he sat on Prince's shoulder and told him stories of what he had seen in strange lands. He went on narrating the stories that the things that he had seen and heard to this prince. Dear little swallow, said the prince, you tell me of marvelous things, but more marvelous than anything is the suffering of men and women. There is no mystery so great as misery. Fly over my city, little swallow, and tell me what you see there. Telling, you see, what is telling? You are telling me so many stories. Swallow is telling him the stories, no? So telling, you are telling me so many stories, so many marvelous stories, so many wonderful stories. But then there are much more many things, like suffering of men and women. This world is filled with the suffering of men and women, until there is no mystery so great as a misery. Mystery is what which cannot even understand. We can't even understand why it's a mystery of great misery. Misery is a suffering. So why there is a suffering, we can't even understand. Mystery. So he's telling, fly over my city, go around the city, little swallow, and tell me what you see there. Now you should go and see and come and tell me what you are seeing. It is not enough to tell me the stories from other places. So the swallow flew over the great city and saw the rich making merry in their beautiful houses, while the beggars were sitting at the gates. He flew into dark lanes and saw the white faces of starving children looking out listlessly at the black streets. Under the archway of a bridge, two little boys were lying in each other's arms to try and keep themselves warm. How hungry we are, they said. You must not lie here, shouted the watchman, and they wandered out into the rain. You see all that the bird sees now in the city. He flew over the great city because he is obeying. He is a very obedient bird. And so he saw, what all he saw, you see here, pay attention. The rich making merry. Making merry means enjoying. Merry is to enjoy. Making merry. Having parties. Okay. In their beautiful houses. Rich have beautiful houses, great houses. Whereas the contrast, the opposite is what? The beggars are sitting at the gates. They are beggars, rich and poor. I told you in the beginning the contrast between rich and the poor. So much gap. Rich are enjoying, whether poor are begging. They are begging near the gate. Nobody gives them anything. And the bird flew into the dark lanes, into the gullies, the lanes. And there he saw white faces of starving children. White faces means hungry children. They are starving. They have nothing to eat. They are looking out listlessly. Listlessly means they don't know where to go. Confused, listlessly. Okay, listless. They don't know where to go. In the black streets, they are simply, children are wandering. And under the bridge, he found archway means what? Like a dome type. Okay, there he finds two boys were lying on each other's arms trying to themselves warm, very cold, and they are hungry. But then watchman shouted at them, telling, "You must not lie here, you will not sleep here." And so they wandered out in the rain. It was raining. He didn't even allow them to lie down under the arch. And so they wandered. Wandered means simply they started roaming, moving out, wandering. Okay. Wandered means roaming here and there without any aim. Then he flew back and told the prince what he had seen. All this report he gave him. "I am covered with fine gold," said the prince. "You see, my full body is covered with the gold. You must take it off leaf by leaf. One leaf you must take out and give it to the poor. The living always think that gold can make them happy. So go and give the gold to these poor people because they can do anything, no?" And so leaf after leaf of the fine gold the swallow picked off, till the happy prince looked quite dull and grey. You see, the swallow obeyed this prince and he picked up one after the other. The leaf after leaf, what will happen then? The statue will look ugly, no? It looked dull and grey, ugly, did not look any more beautiful. Leaf after leaf of the fine gold he brought to the poor, and the children's faces grew rosier. Rosier means happy. The children were very happy and they laughed and played in the street. "We have bread now," they cried. They were very happy, and so they said, "Now we have bread to eat." Read up to here, and just to see that how this prince's heart, these are very rare thing that we can come across. Princes usually they are very selfish. They don't look the people suffering, but this prince is something extraordinary. You see, he is so much taken up with the misery and the suffering of the people. He does not mind that the gold and the precious stone he is covered with, he wants to give it away to the poor people. Up to here you read and try to understand. We'll continue tomorrow. Thank you, students.